only a couple guys in the whole world that make me love pro wrestling, and you're one of them.
You know, all the bad shit you've heard about us, it's all true. But another thing that's true is we love professional wrestling, and that's why we're here. I'm not sports entertainment anymore.
Talk to him, kid. This is a new beginning, and it starts tonight.
A new day is dawning for DX.
Yo, who you talking to?
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, folks. I'm Sean X-Pac Waltman, your host. And as always, over here on the couch, we got Jimbo.
What up, Sean? Too
What
sweet,
up?
brother.
And to my left, the beautiful TK Trinidad.
Hi, how are you doing?
And I'm doing great. Fantastic. What's up, Josh, in the booth? How you doing today, man?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. It's all good. Hey, today, I'm going to get this out of the way real quick.
Do it.
Our special guest today is Road Dogg Jesse James.
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How excited are you to talk to your
I'm
buddy?
very excited. Very excited.
Catch up with your friend.
Yeah. I mean, I get to see him, every couple of months or so at TVs, and we do, get a chance to chop it up, talk a bit, but a little bit more in depth today.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I'm
because he
excited
just
about
got home from SmackDown.
Oh, yeah. SmackDown last night was awesome.
Yeah, and so he's just sitting at home waiting for a call.
Nice. I'm excited.
But I figured we'd talk a little bit about Extreme Rules. I didn't see the whole thing, but you did, Jimbo.
I did. I really enjoyed it. I thought the five-way was definitely the best match of the night.
For sure.
For sure. And I didn't expect Joe to win. I thought Finn
I
had
did.
it.
Really? Huh.
Like, when Finn hit that last double stomp, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then when Joe snuck in and put him in the Coquina clutch, I was like, oh, my God, they're gonna do Joe versus Brock already?
Yeah.
Really? I thought they'd save that for down the
Really?
line. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I figured they would do.
Yeah, it felt like the stories, like the building up, it felt like that was going to happen because they already brought Finn in a while back.
I just thought as far as and everybody looked great in the ring,
Oh, yeah.
in the main event, but I thought Finn Balor shined the most. I thought when it was his turn to get his stuff
His
in,
fire.
yeah, I thought he utilized his time to shine better than anyone in the ring.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Running around doing all those drop kicks, the stomps.
That's right.
Even the little thing of when he was just like stomping whoever was under his foot, he didn't care. Who
And
came in the
every-
ring, he was just stomping the crap out
and
of him.
there's no problem in believing him versus anybody in that match.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Brock's really excited to work with Joe, because now I think it was Jim Cornette, maybe. It's someone with credibility of being a badass and like a
That's
fighter and a background like Brock has, to where it's not just another wrestler.
Of anyone that's not like a crossover guy from MMA that has actual MMA experience, Joe is the one guy, one of the few guys I think that has that type of
That
tough guy
that
credibility.
factor, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and so I'm happy to see Joe. I'm happy to see him in WWE. Period. I know at one point he never thought he would end up there. Always knew he would.
Yeah.
I always figure somebody that has an incredible amount of talent and things like that to offer will eventually end up there.
Well, you saw him at the Inoki Dojo way back when?
Years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. So you've seen him go over
That's right.
the years.
Yep. There was a match I was in. It was like a little tournament, a junior heavyweight tournament at the Inoki Dojo that Bryan Danielson won.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I wrestled him in that.
You wrestled Joe in that?
No, I wrestled
you
Bryan.
Danielson
Yeah.
in that? Wow.
Yeah, and the main event, like the heavyweight match, was Joe versus Aaron Aguilera.
The
really,
hardcore kid.
Yeah, it was a really, and
Formerly Jesus in WWE.
yeah, and Aaron's really good in there, actually. Especially when he's put in a position like I don't want to get
To
off
play
into
like
that.
his type of role
Yeah.
of character.
Yeah, and
the
that
big
type of
monster
and
kinda
that
guy.
style that Japanese strong style of match, he was really good at it.
Wow. That's
Joe.
awesome.
Yeah.
Other matches on the kendo stick match, a lot of people weren't feeling. They thought that Bailey didn't do the greatest. That she should
Did
have.
she not open up with it?
No, like she got the kendo stick and was kind of torn of I shouldn't do this, and then she got beat. right away. So a lot of people were upset about that. They wanted Bailey to come out swinging
People wanted
and pissed.
somebody to get big
Cane-
welts on their back.
cane
Right?
the shit out.
Well, there were pictures. She did get welts on her back. Like there was like evidence of it. I just feel with her character, it's like I understand where she's coming from, but you can at least have a little bit of like this chick.
Even the
is just-
happiest person gets mad.
Yeah,
every now and then.
and
Yes.
it's like she's not doing that, which is frustrating. But
I just when you bring a kendo stick into play, you better start swinging that thing. That's all I have to say. Look, I've been hit with a kendo stick. I guarantee you, as hard as anyone's ever been hit with one. Just
Zorro?
period.
From
Oh
Zorro
yeah,
in
exactly.
Mexico?
Yes, trust me. There's not probably been a human being alive kendo stick harder than me.
Oh,
And it's, it stings, it hurts, but it's not that big a deal. It really isn't. Feels good actually, Jimbo. Yeah.
I have to pick one up. And then the cruiserweight submission match with Neville and Aries was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it would have a different outcome, maybe more a Bret Hart Stone Cold WrestleMania 13, where now Aries becomes the heel and Neville becomes the babyface, because I
Yeah.
think that's what everyone really wants, because Aries is so much better as a heel.
So they made this match work, huh?
They made it work. I enjoyed it, and Neville won with the red arrow and then the submission. I just don't think they're making Aries look the caliber of wrestler he is, bringing him
Gotcha.
in and having him lose like this off the bat.
It might not. I mean, knowing them and how they do things, that might just be, I hate to say it.
Little
'cause-
breadcrumbs for now.
Yeah, or like, we're just going to beat them a little attitude check or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then, give them a push. Or they just don't see it in them. But I don't believe that. Vince likes them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vince likes Austin Aries. Strange stipulation to me, making a
no DQ match.
a submission match.
Oh, I thought.
Okay, in a cruiserweight match. Well, a submission stipulation is hard no matter whether it's a cruiserweight match or a heavyweight, no matter what style you're working in there, because it takes away the all the possible near falls. The 1, 2, you're missing that. And if you don't do submissions right, and if that's not your thing,
Yeah.
it can,
Which you would never be like, oh, Austin Aries, he's a submission
Right.
guy, or Neville, he's a submission guy. They're not like Dean Malenko, where like this guy's
Not
a
as
submission
much,
guy,
right?
Yeah.
Also, it's just, when you think cruiserweights, you want to think high flying, right?
Yeah.
And
Fast
submissions, you don't do submissions off the top rope.
No.
So, although apparently they made it work.
I
work
enjoyed it. I
well,
did.
it seems strange to me. That's all I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
not putting it down or anything like that. It just seems strange. So,
Makes
what else?
sense. The Miz versus Dean Ambrose, which I thought was weird that they had a no.
They opened it up, right?
Yeah, the no DQ stipulation on an Extreme Rules pay-per-view. I thought that was weird.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. But I liked how it worked.
Yeah, it was cool.
They played. Did you see it?
I enjoyed it. I'm glad Miz won.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hoping.
I'm sure he sounded like the people were glad he won too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They love him. He's so entertaining.
Why
he
not?
is.
He's the best.
Come on, I was telling you, even like Sylvester Stallone was asking me about him last night.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Sylvester Stallone was talking to me about Terry Funk, tons about Terry Funk, Harley Race, Hardy Boys. Yeah, I was telling you. Yeah, he brought up the Hardys. Yeah.
Did he bring up throwing Funk through the window and over the top?
No, but we were talking about when Steve Austin broke his neck and he speared him through something. Yeah, he speared him through something in a fight scene for Expendables.
And he broke his
broke
neck?
his neck. He had to have fused
Holy
vertebrae.
shit.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. Acting's not fake either, people.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I knew Stallone's a big wrestling fan, but
Yeah.
really big. Such a, with his words, admiration for what we do.
That's great.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it was
amazing.
very cool.
I'm surprised he's never done a Mania spot.
Well, I mean, he's not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
No.
No, but he should be.
He should
Yeah.
be.
And
Cyndi Lauper should be. There's so many people that should be. involved.
he inducted Hulk, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's
So
what I thought. Anyways, what else is going on with Extreme Rules? Anything?
With Extreme Rules, I think that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you talk about Sasha Banks, Elisa Fox?
We could talk about that real quick. I enjoy Sasha and Rich together. I think
Yeah.
they're great as a team. And Rich broke the curse of winning or not losing in your hometown. He won in
Good.
Maryland, which is great.
Good.
My buddy Rich Balin, who lives out there, went to see him. He took his kid. It was their first WWE show. And he had seen Rich Swann go, like you said, Samoa Joe, the Inoki Dojo and all that through MCW.
Yeah.
So to finally see him come home and get to, wrestle in front of a sold-out arena is great.
That is
It's
cool.
so awesome. And he won.
And how are we buying Noam Dar and Alicia Fox as a couple?
They're cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Not feeling it, TK.
I'm not feeling them as a couple. I'm not buying it, but I like both. I like both of them.
Yeah.
Singly.
It seems with the women's division, like we need more women. So it's just kind of like it is a different element, but I feel like we could use her in like just singles matches.
Yeah. I'm wondering if when they do this Mae Young invitational tournament, that'll help bring up a lot more women to the roster so that
That's
it's
the
not,
rumor.
Well, it's not like the Money in the Bank coming up women's match has pretty much everyone but the champ because that's
all they
all
have.
the people they
Yeah.
have. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they need more toys to play with, I guess I would say.
Yeah. All right. That's about it for Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
Not seeing it, it's hard for me to comment too much on
Yeah,
it.
you saw some of it though.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
How did you think it was compared to like Backlash to Extremely?
I thought Extreme Rules was better than Backlash.
See, I felt the opposite. Yeah. To each his own.
To each his own. Yeah. Let's talk about some news.
Let's do it. Let's talk about some news.
We're like
60 wrestling news.
I hate to do this, but it's part of life. So we have what's the word?
Someone passed away.
Someone passed away. Thank you. Randy Savage, his mother passed away at 90.
Yeah.
So.
Judy
Yeah,
Poffo.
And we had Lanny on the show a few months back.
Episode 10.
Episode 10, more than a few months ago now. And he was an amazing guest, right?
Such a good dude.
Yeah. And knew his mother since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And what an amazing woman. Let me just say this about, and especially the Judy Poppos of that era, they're the unsung heroes. So I'm really sad for Lanny. And Angelo, his father, and Randy are gone. So really pretty much Lanny's the only one left, just condolences.
Yeah. I sent him a message after I found out, just telling him how much I appreciate the work she put in for them to bring joy to my life, and how the poem he writes for her is going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So it was cool to just let him know how I felt.
Cool.
Be able to share that with him.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I could, saying anything else is just like, I don't know. I can't say anything else. Enough. Move on to the next one. I love you, Judy. You're an amazing woman.
So moving on. A former TNA wrestler has been signed to WWE. Thea Trinidad is now going to be going to the Performance Center.
I wonder if they're going to change her name.
I don't know, because she's been in the game, like I heard about her years ago. She's been in the game for a minute. I don't know. That'd be a good question.
I knew this was going to happen. I really like Thea, and she's Austin Aries'
I was going to
girlfriend.
say she's dating
They said
Austin
they're
Aries.
engaged now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations.
And so when I was in a gorilla position, they were filming the scenes for the movie with,
The Page movie, yeah.
Yes.
She played AJ.
Yeah, and she one take, she got all her lines. She was very impressive. And what a really good job she did were you there, right?
At that was at Raw?
Yeah.
I was not at that Raw.
Okay.
I watched it though.
But she did a great job.
Yeah.
And, Austin Aries obviously is, pushing for her to get hired.
Oh yeah.
and rightfully so. And she's talented. And but Stephanie had mentioned, it'll happen eventually. So it's not something I'm surprised at.
Well, to be put in such a high pressure situation of you're on Raw in front of all these people, we're taping this movie.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much get this in one take because you know how wrestling fans can be. And for her to knock it out of the park, that really helped, especially when she hasn't been on TV in front of a live crowd in so long like that.
And make no mistake about it, she knocked it out of the park. I mean, legit. Everyone was extremely
everyone
impressed.
Was so impressed with how much she sounded like AJ that you could barely tell it wasn't her.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for her. Hopefully she'll be in this Mae Young Invitational.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe like come right to the roster. Just throw her in the mix.
I don't know. I'm happy she has a job at WWE.
Yeah.
That's great.
So do you think she would be do you think she has enough talent to just kind of go into the main roster?
think they could just put her right on SmackDown and she'd be fine. They should definitely shoot some vignettes and build her up because not a lot of fans know who she is.
Right.
But I think she could just go
You
right
think?
on. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would, just to be on the safe side, I would throw her in there down
Throw her in
NXT.
NXT for a while.
NXT, or at least on some house shows.
Yeah, just test the waters.
Because you know what NXT used to be? Just house shows. We used to, before they'd put somebody on TV a lot, they'd put them on house shows first.
I remember seeing Ryback destroy Curtis Axel, maybe? And I was just like, who is this Ryback guy?
Right.
Like, who is this guy? And then, like, 2 weeks later, he's squashing every local guy on TV. I was like, oh, I saw that dude at the house show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like testing the waters of how's this guy do?
Speaking of Ryback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work. So Ryback wants to clear the air a little bit. On his recent podcast, he was talking about Jinder Mahal, how he's excited that he's the WWE champion, but he kind of made a reference to India and doesn't see how WWE is making the tie, like having Jinder kind of push India a lot because there's not a lot of money there. And I think obviously, but a lot of fans didn't take liking to that, and they went in on him on social media.
Yeah, and that's going to happen when you say something like that. And I can imagine. I like Ryback. I can imagine, what he was trying to do, or maybe I don't actually. I don't know. Who knows what
Have
he
you
was
ever
thinking?
been to India?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
That's a lot. Okay. This is what I could say about Ryback's initial statement, and it's easy to think that. It's easy because there's a ton of poverty there, but you gotta understand there's 1.5 billion people there, and even if 10% of them have a ton of money, that's a
Ton of
people with a ton of money there, you guys.
Yeah.
So just like Mexico, there's a ton of poverty there. There's also tons of money. Same with India, even more so. So just misguided statement. That's all. I mean, I don't think he meant anything by it.
Yeah.
I don't think he was like anti-India or anything like that.
I just think a lot of people just took it the wrong way, and I mean, that's just the world we live in at this particular moment. I think if he had made that statement 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been much of an issue.
Yeah.
I think he was, like you said, he was trying to say, well, from what I've seen there, it's very poverty-like, so I don't understand why if people there don't have money, the people would throw money at wrestling. I think that's what he was getting at. But like you said, the people with a lot of money are the people that can afford to throw money at wrestling. It makes me think of Nigeria and like Power Udi bringing American wrestlers over to wrestle specifically for him, like paying them money to wrestle a private show for him because they have the money to do that.
Yep.
And
then when we wrestled in India, one of the cities, we were in Bangalore. We were in an outdoor stadium. It was about a 30,000 seat stadium, and it was sold out. And security were like letting people in the side, getting bribed and letting people in the side. The place was overpacked to the point where the structure was starting to, have some failure.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a market for wrestling in India.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
TNA did the Ring Ka King thing over there. That was pretty successful.
Yeah, and TNA
TNA's
just
about
got
to go
back from. Some guys just got back from there. I was listening to the little bit of
Pritchard.
Pritchard, yeah, and he was on his way back from India.
Yeah, I think WWE had some folks there too, because I know New Day was over there. They shot something over there as well. So I think it's a big market.
Yeah, why not?
So one time, I've only been there one time, and Bret Hart's with us there at the time, and we're driving on the bus, and we're kind of stuck in traffic, and we look over, and there's this big billboard, and it says Hitman Jeans. And it's this picture, and it looks just like Bret, but it's not. It's this guy from Germany named Franz Bret Hart Schumann. Yeah, you know about the tribute acts and like
Yes,
Europe?
I do.
He was like the Bret Hart guy there. So he went to India and licensed himself some blue jeans.
Oh my gosh.
using Bret's name.
It
was so funny. We were laughing so hard. Bret didn't think
pissed.
it was
I was like,
funny
Bret was
at
probably
all.
pissed.
Yeah.
Cease and desist, sir.
Sounds like a Kiss move.
Have you ever had someone do you over there as like a legend version of you?
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3 boy. There was some other. I can't remember who. Oh God, some of the European guys would tell me who it was too.
Because I've seen the Razor Revolution guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, not good.
So, and Paige's dad was Legend of Doom.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Instead of like Legion of Doom, Legend of Doom. Wow, that's great.
Oh boy.
Oh.
All right, well, that is it for the news.
All right.
So you can follow us on AfterBuzz TV on everything, then also on Twitter, The Real X-Pac, on IG, X-Pac12360, and on Facebook, X-Pac12360 Show. And we have all those wrestling tees. Do you have the new ones up quite yet or no?
At ProWrestlingTees.com/Sean Waltman.
Yeah, there's a new one I have coming
Yeah?
out. Yeah.
Is it the NWO one?
No, it's a
okay.
ripoff of
Okay.
the. I'll just flat out. It's a ripoff of the Rated R Superstar. It just says Rated X Superstar.
Suck it, Edge.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
We are going to go to commercials.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break right now.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we're gonna be talking to Road Dogg Jesse James.
If you didn't know.
What's up, party people? Roxy Stryer here from The Tomorrow Show with Keven Undergaro. We're your twice-weekly broadcast of one man's midlife crisis and the mad millennials in Star Trek uniforms that follow him.
And I'm one of those millennials, Lauren LaGrasso here. We've had some amazing guests like Russell Simmons, Ileana Douglas, and Craig Gass. Coolio, right?
Christian Blatt in the house to tell you to go to thetomorrowshow.com to check us out. We're live every Monday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern. That's thetomorrowshow.com. Be there or be square, whatever that means.
He was the cornerstone of the Attitude Era, one of its greatest stars and one of its architects. He is a second-generation wrestler. He served our country as a United States Marine, and he's been wrestling for over 30 years for TNA and WWE and other promotions. He is currently one of the prime creative forces behind WWE. Please welcome Brian James, a.k.a. Road Dogg.
Brian.
Oh, you didn't know TK Trinidad nailed it on take 2, didn't she?
Thank you.
Damn, you've been wrestling 30 years?
I don't know. It's close enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Since I got back from Desert Storm in 91, I guess,
Yeah.
and I had a match right after that, so maybe close to it.
Hey, but do you remember where you and I first met?
I do not.
I'll tell you.
Know the history.
It was
you know my history, so I don't remember a lot of things.
Lowell, Massachusetts.
Lowell, Mass. You know what? Was that my tryout?
That was your tryout.
Man Mountain Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I came up with Man Mountain Rock. I was doing jobs for WCW, and Max Payne, aka Man Mountain Rock, got me a tryout up there because I was the lead singer of his band,
Right.
Living Insanity.
Yep.
And so I'm not sure which one I worked with. I think I either worked with Dwayne Gill or Barry Hardy. I'm not sure which one. And they said, "Well, what's your finish?" And I said, "I don't know. I've been doing jobs for 6 months. I don't have a finish." And Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, said, "Why don't you do that drop kick your brother did off the top rope?" And so I did that as a finish. I thought, God darn, I'll never do that again. It hurt so bad.
Right.
But yeah, I had a decent little match there and got hired soon after.
Do you remember I remember you not being happy with the match, Brian. And do you remember everyone telling you, "Don't worry," they knew before, pretty much before you got in the ring, they saw what they needed. They saw what they needed to see.
Yeah, and I don't, I was young and dumb, and,
Yeah.
and the other part of that phrase.
Sure.
But I had already sang to them. Like me and Max went downstairs at that place where the production meeting was and sang to Vince and Pat and Bruce Pritchard. And I want to think Shane or Briscoe. So there was another person in there, and we sang like the Four Non Blonde song.
That's
right.
wow.
Acoustic, with an acoustic guitar. And I remember then they said, oh, well, we want you to have a match too. And so in retrospect, I realized they could tell if I knew what I was doing or if I didn't. And at the time, to be quite honest with you, I didn't. I didn't learn until about 7 minutes ago how to work. But they could tell. They could tell what was going on. And so, yeah, it was. I remember that, man. I remember that.
Funny how things work out, though, Brian, because, when you guys came in, I'm pretty sure most people, Daryl included, figured that he was the one that they were going to give a big push to and do something with.
Yeah, and look, they probably were at first, and then they I guess they saw something shiny over to the left of him, and that was me, and I just appreciate them giving me the opportunity, man.
And they tried with him. It wasn't like they didn't give him the ball to run with.
Did they ever think about...
no, they did. They still have that guitar in Vince's office, or in Brad, his chief of staff, in his office, that WWF guitar that's cool as crap,
Did they ever think about putting you together as a tag team because you both sang for them?
You know what? They didn't, and that was weird. That was never the idea. They put me right with Jeff Jarrett, and I don't know if that was a foregone conclusion. Prior to me even being there, I just know that's exactly where they went. And oh my God, my dogs are going crazy.
That's all right.
My wife's probably having something delivered, and the dogs are going nuts.
That's all right. Sometimes my dog sits next to me while I'm recording the show here and starts snoring really loud. So.
Yeah, that's what. Well, they were down here with me, and I made them go get in their kennels.
Aww.
And now they're pissed off at me, I guess. They'll be all right. They sleep on friggin' Vera Wang blankets.
So, wow. Damn, Brian. Things are good around the James house. Vera Wang blankets.
They really are. And a lot of people on Twitter give me a lot of crap because I always toe the company line. But in my real life, in reality, when it gets down to it, man, they paid for me to go to rehab. They paid for me to get clean, and then they gave me a second chance to do what I love to do. And they pay me for it too. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I toe the company line? And if you don't understand that, then suck it.
and Brian, you brought that up. Like they paid for rehab. They paid for more than one for me. I feel the same way as you
me
do.
Too.
And I didn't get it right the first, second, or third time.
Yeah. It took me about 5 swings too.
Yeah.
Thank God for foul balls,
Yeah, but so Brian, we could talk about all the different things in wrestling, but this is the important stuff to me. What was it that finally did it for you?
Yeah, hey, I agree 100% too. By the way, sports entertainment, pro wrestling, whatever you want to call it, superficial. In reality, it's all phony guys fighting in spandex.
Just silliness.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I love it.
Me too.
My passion in life, and I'll die loving it with all my heart. But the reality is, family, friends, just trying to be a great father, or just a good father, trying to be a good husband to my wife, a good son to my parents. Those are the real important things. And so what was it that made me get sober? I mean, I think I really did get, and this is a cliche, but I really did get sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. I came to a point where I sat in my recliner and thought, okay, how can I kill myself so that I'll stop hurting everybody around me?
Yeah.
But how can I do it without hurting everybody around me some more? You know what I mean? Like, they're going to come out in the shed and find my brains blown out, and that's going to hurt them some more. So, and then the whole thing of, I think I'm too much of a coward to commit suicide anyway. And it just got to be hard work. It all started out as fun and smoking weed and drinking and taking pills. It was all just party time, right? We were living the rock and roll lifestyle. It just got to be hard work to maintain that kind of, haze, to keep myself in that haze. And the more I stayed in it, the more troubles just stacked up, and bills and IRS payment, just everything just stacked up, because I was afraid to face it all. I was afraid to face life, and I wanted to be in control of everything, but yet I didn't want any of the responsibility.
No
so
kidding.
It's a crazy dichotomy. But man, it's just 6 years. I'll be 7 years in November. I haven't smoked a joint, haven't taken a pill, haven't taken a drink, and I work a program of recovery that works for me personally, and that's that. As long as I stay away from that first toke or that first pill or that first drink, I'm in the clear, man.
Yeah,
and
is
first
that,
one's the one that'll kill me.
That damn sure can. That's for sure. Hey, Brian, so are you working like a 12-step recovery program still?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I just went today to a meeting. It's just something that I do. It keeps me plugged in, and it makes me understand that I'm not in this alone, that that other people have this disease too, and I believe it's a disease of the mind. And so if I can, it makes me feel good to go to these things, because like I said, it makes me understand like I'm not alone in this. I got people around me, and good people, and rich people, and poor people, and white people, and black people, and it's not, it doesn't pick and choose. It's just everybody's in the same boat. We're all just trying to get to shore.
And Brian, I notice, when I see you, you can tell when somebody's white knuckle it, when they're just making it day by day, and always on the edge of falling off into relapse. And it's just, I don't see that with you at all. And I don't feel it either these days. Not that it can't come creeping back, but is that something that ever creeps back into your life on occasion, or
No. So at first it was all about abstaining from mind-altering substances, right? At first it was all about just don't drink and drug today. But now, after I have been sober for a little while and I continue to kind of work on myself, it becomes about being a better person, not just stop, not just abstaining from the drugs and the mind-altering substance, but now I got to work on becoming a better person. Why was I doing all that crap to begin with? Yeah. What was I so scared of, or what was I hiding from, or what was I looking for? And so it turns out a lot of that stuff was fear-based, man. I used to think I had to be high to walk out the curtain, and because I was nervous, or I was, and it's like, wow, I wish. It's the only regret I have, and I try not to have too many regrets. But I look back at of course, it's not the only regret I have. Let me take that back immediately, because I would love to have been better to my wife and my children.
Absolutely.
And more attentive and more present. But as far as my career goes, because I mentioned that sports entertainment, pro wrestling, whatever, is my passion. And so how far could I have gone if I would have been of sound mind? Because then I think I would have been of sound body too. But man, I ripped myself off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But Brian, okay, we have to also admit that in spite of all that, pretty good career, man.
Not bad at all.
Not too bad.
I give, and this is the spiritual portion of the program. But look, I give a lot of thanks to God for that.
Sure.
Because you and I both were gifted to a point, so gifted that we could be screwed up out of our minds and still go out there and do what we did.
Better than just about anyone.
On autopilot.
Yeah. And better than just about anyone.
Autopilot.
Yep.
I see some old stuff of us now that I don't remember doing, of course, and then I watch it back and I go, holy crap, how high was I right then? You know what I mean? Like,
and still killing it.
Looking at me.
And Brian, no, still killing it. And timing, perfect timing. I watched a match we had in Chicago at the Allstate Arena with the Hardys. And, oh, man, we just got that new Run DMC music. And, we killed it. And, man, it was damn good, Brian. I ain't afraid to brag us up right now.
Yeah, it sounds braggadocious, but when I watch some stuff back too, I think, man, and that's what comes to my mind. And anybody who knows what we're talking about when it comes to the timing part of it, man, they know it was there, and not just you had it, or not just I had it, or not just Billy had it, but every one of us had it.
Yeah.
And we would feed those baby faces when we first started off as heels, and everybody just knew where they were supposed to be and when they were supposed to be there, and
intuitively.
That's exactly where they were.
Intuitively.
Yeah, intuitively, without talking. Like you can turn back now. I watched something the other day with Taker was coming down to the ring, and we were all four standing in the ring.
Yeah.
Now you think like, okay, how's he gonna whip all their asses? There's four of them. Well, and I could see us talking prior to him getting in the ring, and it was just I could imagine you or me going, I'll go first, you know what I mean, or something. Hey, I'm gonna go, and he's gonna duck my stuff and hit you or whatever, and it just. Man, it was so perfect, and he dropped every one of us like 3 times each, and there was never any stutter stepping or running into each other, or, you know what I mean? It was a thing of beauty, man, and that sounds braggadocious, but it's just a fact.
It's not bragging when it's fact.
Yeah, I guess
It isn't.
I guess it's better if somebody else was saying it about us.
It is. No, see, that's the thing, Brian, and that's where I have a hard time because I think it's better. Way better when somebody else toots your horn for you. I don't like tooting my own, and you know I don't like hearing other people toot their own too much.
Well, when people toot your horn, you get like, I don't.
Go ahead.
Like when people every time we have guests on and they tell like the impact that Sean has had on their career, and that's why like Christopher Daniels, for example, was saying how much of an impact you had on him. You get kind of shy and you're like, nah, I don't, nah.
But don't you still, Brian? Don't you get like that too a little bit when you get a compliment?
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit like under all this perfection, I'm a bit humble.
And maybe there's a little bit of a guilt. Like we're almost, I think it might be a little bit of we don't feel worthy of compliments.
Oh, you're worthy.
Yeah, a little guilty. And look, hey, while we're talking about people, you know, what effect they had on their career, like I didn't learn to wrestle. And this is a true statement. I was 4 or 5 time tag team champion with Billy until I started tagging with Kid, and that's for those of you that don't know, Kiddo Bambito. That's the name I've always called it.
Yep.
But until I started tagging with you, dude, I didn't have a friggin' clue what I was doing. Like you were properly trained by proper wrestlers, and you had psychology, and I had none of it. I mean, I was calling spots in the ring, and I remember you going like, "Why would you shoot Kane off the ropes?" And I was like, because that's the spot. We're gonna do this. And you
Tackle,
were like,
drop down, leapfrog.
Yeah, but he's so much bigger than you. Wouldn't he not let you do that? And so maybe, you know what I mean? And it was, you always, I kind of learned a lot standing on the apron too, watching you work with the likes of Kane and big guys, as to you could always get your stuff in, but you always made it logical.
There's always a way, right, Brian? All we have to do is not. People are mentally lazy.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if you'll step up to that creative challenge and go, and I say that all the time, you can get your stuff in, and you know, now we don't allow during a tag match, we don't allow the double feed, and you can utilize that guy on the apron, just overcome that creative laziness that you just spoke of, and figure out how to use that guy. Blast him off the apron, go into a sequence and have him pop back up just in time for you to blast him off again. You know what I mean? Like you can utilize that, dude. You just got to figure out how.
And you know, something that bothers me about like when guys come in like that, and you know, okay, it helps when you got other guys feeding in too, but man, I dare you to change it up besides just coming in for the tag and clothesline. And I mean, can we switch it up a little bit?
I had a conversation with Charlotte the other day about that. I told her, I said, Charlotte, your whole comeback could be chops, and you just got to figure out different ways to get into them. I said, just because of people will woo with every one, and so, you know, duck one and blast that person off the apron, and then move as she charges you in the buckle. It was a tag match.
Yeah.
And as she staggers back out to the center, chop the fire out of her, and they'll woo, and you start strutting, and they'll feed up and charge you again. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful movement, and it's so
I can feel it.
Rhythmic.
The way
you can.
I can feel it right now, and I got the goosebumps right now. Just the way you just articulated
I do too. I'm pacing and sweating thinking about it because I love it, man.
Yeah.
And it's very. I always use this when I'm talking to younger kids about a comeback.
Yeah.
It's very melodic and rhythmic, and I sound like friggin' Santana. I'm so spiritual about it, but it is rhythmic. It's the drum beat, man, and it's the beats. And you can't articulate it, but if you're running a good comeback, you got the crowd. If you can imagine like an African drum beat, and it's just boom and a boom and a boom and a boom, and you're moving and you're ducking and you're dumping. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing that you can't articulate as a viewer or a fan, but if it's done right, you damn sure know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and everything just falls into place.
Well, it goes back to the timing, like you were saying before.
Yeah,
Everyone on the
it
right
is,
time.
man. And listen, one stutter step in that comeback, it's like a off drum beat in a song. Like, oh God, what was that?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
you know what'll do it? A real simple like stutter step that'll screw the whole thing up is when somebody's feeding into a guy, and instead of just shooting him in, he ends up backing him into the ropes and shooting him. Like a little half a step like that just screws the whole thing up, Brian.
Yeah, it's just one half step.
Yep.
It's off beat, man. It's off rhythm.
Yep.
And you can feel that as a viewer and a spectator, but you don't know how to say that. Or, you know what I mean? You can't articulate it, but you can damn sure feel it. Oh, it's awesome, man.
Brian, hey, so it's amazing to me where you've come from, from coming back to work for the company and then gaining gaining the boss's trust to the point where, are you the head? What's your exact title as far as what you do on SmackDown?
So my exact title is Vice President and Lead Writer of SmackDown, and so I have gained his trust, and I think it's I remember when Hunter reached out to me and said, "Do you think you could do this?" And I remember I got sober not to get a job. That wasn't my intent. I got sober to save my life and to save my marriage and to save my relationship with my children. And then about a year later, he reached out and he said, "Oh, look, I'm going to ask Vince." And Vince said, "Hell no. Why would you hire a known drug addict?
That's right.
Why would you do that?" So that
Fair
happened
question.
3 times.
Fair question. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. Legitimate question. And look, I firmly believe that after you are a drug addict for friggin' 25 years, you have to be sober and trustworthy for an extended period of time before you gain people's trust back.
That's
know
right.
what I mean? And so yeah, totally legitimate question. So that happened 3 times. And the third time, Vince said, "Look, you bring him in under a trial period, but he screws up at your ass." And Hunter believed in me, man. And he had been talking to my brother Scott, who'd worked back up there for about a year after that.
Yeah.
He had been talking to him about my progress and stuff. So.
And plus, we had seen you. We had seen you when you inducted your father into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, and I made look, that was in Atlanta, and I made sure to make amends to some people.
Yeah.
And Vince wasn't one of them. I have since then, but Rock was there. I treated him poorly while I was there.
Wow.
Undertaker always tried to help me. And I literally told him, "You don't know me, dude. What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? So I thought I knew everything. So I went back to some people and said, "I'm sorry and thank you for for not beating me up or whatever." But for also trying to help me.
Yeah. And see, I remember like it was yesterday how you used to talk to Rocky in the dressing room. Wow, man.
Yeah, it was bad. And
yes.
It was to the point where I would look at Billy and go, "I'm going to make him fight me today."
I was thinking,
you know what I mean?
on the regular, I was thinking, okay, today's the day that Rock's going to end up fighting Brian.
He's going to snap and beat me up. And I don't know if that's what I wanted or if in my mind, I thought it was my job to keep him grounded. I don't know what was going on in my head, but I know there was a bunch of drugs and stuff involved.
Were you hazing him or
let's get
ribbing him? Like, what were you doing to him? You were just talking down to him?
It was ribbing, but
ribbing on the square.
Ribbing on the square. Yeah. Horrible stuff in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But look, in retrospect and through sober eyes, I realized I feared him. I was afraid of him because he had it all. He could talk on the mic, he could work, and he looked great.
Yeah.
And so I only had 2 out of 3 things.
And he did appropriate. Full disclosure, he did appropriate the smell what The Rock is cooking from you in Memphis.
Yes. So he had done that in Memphis and kind of. But look, that's neither here nor there.
No.
The way I see it now,
he did it better than you, Brian.
yeah, he did actually, right? But that was going to be my point: is if you take something from Memphis and you put it on the national stage like that, hell, that's yours.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you did it first. All's fair in love and war. But yeah, I treated him poorly, and so anyway, that Atlanta Hall of Fame, I made some amends to people, but I also walked up to Vince and looked him in the eye and just said, "Thank you for doing this for my dad." It's the only real moment I've felt in the wrestling business so far.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah, and it was amazing.
Real to me.
It was great, man.
Look, I get that even that is a little bit geographically, politically figured out, and he was big in Atlanta for a while, and they, I get it, but still, it was very real to me because my dad was always my superhero growing up, and was my favorite wrestler, and you know what I mean. I just appropriated so much of his crap and put it on the national stage.
Damn right.
It makes me a little more understanding of The Rock, So then I became just a producer in the WWE, just putting matches together. And I think over a period of time, Vince and them just saw that, okay, he's got a little bigger knack than just putting a match together and calling it on the headset. That timing comes in too. It's whether the musical timing and coming up with entrances. Me and Hunter work really well together, putting those entrances together, like at NXT takeovers and stuff. And it's just kind of a vision and a timing deal, and I'm sure it's something you could do too, kid. It's not but look, like not everybody can do that. So there's a place I fit in there.
Oh, you're great at it too, man. And I see how you interact with the talent, like, and it's crazy because like listening to you talk to them and like that was us being talked to at one, you know what I mean? It's so
that's
crazy,
what I was
man.
gonna ask.
And what's crazy is like that was Lanza or Chief, or you know what I mean, or Rene Goulet, or you know, we go way back to who were those people talking to us like that, and it's cool.
Hey,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Being in the Marine Corps had to have helped you with a lot of this stuff, Brian.
For sure, and look, so I go back to that mentally anyway, and I think Vince went to military school and stuff, so I think me and him think a lot alike when it comes to that kind of that mindset, that military mindset of accomplish the mission no matter what. And so yeah, it helps me a ton, and that's who I was before I became a drug addict and a drunkie and a person that my mama didn't raise. And I feel like I've got back to my roots of now I am the dude that my mom and dad raised, or my mom raised, really. My dad was on the road all the time, but
he's
I can
always
be proud
been in
of
there.
that now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step over it. That guy's always been there, man. He was always in there, Brian.
Sure. But I felt like I hit him.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to some dark places and spent some dark time, and I just felt like I got away from that guy. And so I feel like I'm back there now, and it's just rewarding. And sure, it's rewarding financially because of gainful employment, but it's rewarding on so many other levels, man. Just the relationship with my children. Now I got grandkids. You know what I mean? It's just incredible.
That's so amazing, man. When I see the pictures of your oh wow, man.
I know. I'll never forget. I think it was in Philly. I say I'll never forget, and then I think it was somewhere. But I'll never forget me and you sitting on a crate, and I'm pretty sure it was Philly, to be quite honest. And I'd said like Amberly had a baby, or either she was about to have a baby, or she just had my granddaughter.
Wow.
And you just started crying.
I did, man.
Because you remembered like her as a baby. You know what I mean? You slept in her room here at the house, and it made my heart.
I woke up, and Brian hears me tell it all the time. Every time we bring her daughter Amberly up, but I woke up and I come walking out, and she looked at me and she goes, "What's the matter with his hair, Daddy?" Because I used to have if I didn't put product in it, my stuff would be out of here.
You got a big old fro.
I remember, it was all froed up, and he was out. At one point, he was outside swinging on her swing set in his underwear with his hair looking like that.
That'd be a great 8x10 design for somebody.
Oh yeah, you can vision that.
I was going to ask,
welcome for that vision.
When you were an active wrestler and agents like Lanza and Chief were giving you things to go over in your match or reasons to do this, was there anything that you were like, they don't know, that now that you tell that to wrestlers, you're like, hindsight is 20/20, they did know?
I'll tell you this was my take on it, and Kid may have a little different take on it. He was there a little longer with those guys than I was, but they gave me more lessons about life that I didn't listen to. Back then, the agent / producer, whatever we called him at the time, was not very hands-on. It's you versus you up. You got 10 minutes, whatever the deal is, and it was not nearly as hands-on, and not nearly as television critical as it is today. Now we talk about camera angles and stuff like that, and so it's very much a television show that we get knocked down in between commercial breaks on. But they used to tell me all the time, man, save your money, pay your taxes, just life lessons that I thought, they don't know what the frick they're talking about, these old dudes. I'm making friggin' bank, you know what I mean? Like, this is never going to end. And then it ended, and I owe the government like $200,000. So whatever.
That's all. I got you beat.
Yeah. So you. Oh boy, I don't even want to know. So you did mention there's a lot of matches that you were kind of like fuzzy for you. Are there any matches that you remember that like you kind of hold near and dear to your heart?
No. That is a horribly pathetic answer, but the thing called the 90s, I heard we had a good time, but I just can't.
You heard right.
But I don't really remember it. Like when I watch stuff back, it'll trigger stuff, and I go, oh man, I just watched the other day. It was me, you, Billy, and Hunter versus the Nation, but one member had gotten taken out or something backstage.
I was
so it was
pissed.
Just D'Lo, Mark Henry, and The Rock, and we had like a hardcore match. It was like and I just watched it and I thought, holy mackerel, we beat the crap out of each other. But I didn't remember a lick of that. Like I have no recollection of that at all.
I do. You want to know why? Because it was lopsided, and I think we outnumbered
they were
them.
Beat us?
Well, no, it was that when we got in the ring, nobody came to me, and I was sitting there with my, in my hand.
Yeah.
And so I got hot, and I started like going around and just, hitting people.
Kicking everybody.
It felt like we each did that a couple times. Like, man, and I thought about The Rock then, because I hit him so hard in the head with something during that match, and I don't remember. I think it was one of them thick cookie sheets, and it just wrapped around, and it was totally a blindsided shot too. And I thought, oh, what a dick,
Yeah.
What a dick I was.
It was great though. It was still great.
It was good TV, that's for sure.
While I was watching stuff on the network for only $9.99, I saw a match with
good deal, right?
A match with you and Rikishi, that he gives you the stink face and you take it like full on nose in the butt, and you roll out of the ring and you get counted out and leave, and it looks like you're like trying to pretend like you're gonna throw up, and then it looks like you legit throw up and just like run to the back.
So that was I do remember that, and I'll tell you why. What I remember about it, I was working the gag to the throw up.
Yeah.
But in my work, Jerry Lawler literally threw up because he had a little Briscoe belly.
Did he?
And if you act like if you get gaggy around Lawler or Briscoe, they would shoot like gag and throw up.
Yep.
And so I remember Lawler throwing up next to the commentary table because he was watching me gag. And I've seen that recently too, and I did take it like a champ.
Oh.
Yeah, why not, right? The only problem is I couldn't get in the air. That was the only problem.
Yeah, you just hoped you didn't go to, like, you ain't gonna be up here all day.
Right.
I don't mind me sticking my face up your butt, but let's not have it there all day.
You hope he washed his gear.
Never minded once, man.
He was. Look, he's clean. His butt was always clean.
Yeah. Do you remember the time, Brian, when
only in our business would we be talking about?
Do you remember though when we finally got Keish down, and then Pat came in and pulled his pants down, and with the big brown stain in his underwear, stink face Rikishi?
No.
It was great.
Of course not.
Oh, it was great. It was classic.
Did Pat have a? Pat had he said he knows which way to put his underwear on. It's yellow in the front and brown
That's
in the back.
That's it. And it was extremely brown in the back. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's disgusting.
So, go ahead,
But
Jimbo.
awesome at the same time.
Well, I have so much. We could talk about so much. Let's talk about the women's Money in the Bank match. How excited are you to have this on SmackDown? And are you hoping to bring up more women to the SmackDown roster so not the entire roster is in one match?
Yeah. Well, look, of course, I'm extremely proud of doing it, and it didn't. It wasn't an easy decision to come to. Like, it was an easy thing to want to do it, but then we have to think about, okay, well, dang, what if one of these girls gets hurt on this ladder match, and what if something happens, and then is that on me? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So there was a big talk with the girls and making sure they were all game for it, and of course they were, and it's all about making history now, and I think it'll be great. I actually think it'll tell a better story than the men's ladder match. Having said that, I don't think. Look, if we brought other girls up now, there's not enough landscape to go around as it is. That's why we kind of been having all the girls figured into the same kind of thing, and fatal 5-ways and such six women tags, and because if we don't do that, there's just not enough landscape to represent each girl in a story, and then some people are going to be left off the show. And so, would I love to have a couple more girls? Heck yeah! And as the summer rolls along, I may get a couple more. But then as you get the new ones, you want to utilize them, and so then maybe one of your kind of stalwart girls takes a back seat, and that don't feel good. So it's a you got to weigh it out. What's best for the product and what's best for the individuals, because when we did that brand extension, I had a lot of say. My whole team. I have a team of writers. It's not just I say I'm the lead writer. There's actually 2 other lead writers as well that are great at their jobs. And so
can we give them a shout out? Can we give them a little credit?
Yeah, we can, and I think a lot of people know Ryan Ward.
Yep.
Kind of started off writing NXT, and he's been writing SmackDown a long time. And the other one is Steve Guerreri, and he's probably not as infamous as Ryan Ward is, but man, he should be, because he is such a great human being and such a great writer. Like, literally, I have learned a lot about being an open-minded human citizen from just being around this guy. That's the kind of person he is, and yeah, it's incredible. He's a great dude, and so so I got a team around me. But what were we talking about again?
We're talking about the women's Money in the Bank, and maybe possibly bringing up more women at the summertime.
Yeah. So after the summer gets rolling here, I'm sure they're going to have that Mae Young Classic, and they'll probably add a couple of girls, to the NXT roster, and a couple of girls will be ready to move. And look, I always put my bid in for who I want, but that's not always who I get. So, having said all that, I really had my hands on choosing who I wanted once we did that brand extension.
Yeah.
And what I hunted for was the right human beings, because I think they all have talent. That's needless to say. They're all where they are because they're talented people. Then I wanted the right human beings, the people that are going to form a bond as a team and have a cohesive team that works together and not a divided locker room. And I think I got that, especially in the women's division. And so that feels good. So like I said, if you bring up new talent, then one of those girls might have to take a back seat, and that feels bad. It doesn't mean it's bad for the product. It just means it feels negative, and so I like to try to keep that positive energy going on the blue brand for sure. And just that camaraderie, man, where we all work hard to get each other over and get the product over as our main objective, and not me.
Hey, Brian, have they tried to add an extra hour to SmackDown?
Well, they haven't yet, but I hear that a lot on social media, and the truth of it is, it's so much easier to watch at 2 hours, and it's so much easier to write at 2 hours. It's just, and look, do I wish I could have a 2 hour and 20-minute show? Heck yeah, because then I'd be getting the Luke Harpers and the Ty Dillingers and these people that are extremely talented and good human beings.
Yeah.
I could be representing them, you know what I mean, in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to get around to it for sure. It's just, I don't want a third hour, but I'd love an extra 15 minutes.
Before we move on from the women's Money in the Bank, will the winner be able to go between the brands to cash it in, or is it solely for SmackDown?
I at this point it's going to be solely for SmackDown, and so that's the decision that was made, and I think it's okay, because if you want to keep the integrity of the brand extension, it's hard to have people go into the other show and showing up on the other show, and then it may be more interesting, and that may happen down the road, but I feel like right now we need to establish the two brands, and we're kind of just now a year in doing that, so I think we'll keep it to the SmackDown.
Ryan, I think that I wasn't a fan of the splitting the brand, the brand extension, all that, when they did it a few years back. I am this time, though. I think it's been done properly this time.
Well, and I couldn't agree with you more. I didn't understand it. I thought, what do you mean SmackDown? It's all WWE, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. I didn't understand it. And one reason is because I wasn't there and I was high, so I didn't understand it. But this time around, like, I started looking at it and I thought, man, it's going to give some talent, some incredible talent, the opportunity to kind of rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it did. That first 6 months, people like Alexa Bliss, people like the Miz, people got a real opportunity to stand on their own and kind of shine. And I don't know that they would have had the same opportunity had it all just been one big conglomeration.
What's your most, like, what are you proudest of, as far as, like, people, of any of those, any of the talent that we're talking about here?
Well, look, I'm really proud of the Becky Lynches of the world. Right. I'm proud of Alexa. I feel like Alexa cut her teeth on SmackDown, and that's why they wanted her on the other show, and she's done a hell of a job. The Miz, man, I felt like the Miz was in a place where everybody was like, oh, whatever, and he with John Cena being kind of the main guy on SmackDown for a little while, and then him being out of the picture, it really gave a lot of oxygen to people like The Miz, like Dean Ambrose. And so, man, I couldn't be more proud of how we handled The Miz. Yes. And he's, by the way, one of the best employees, other than John Cena, and everybody, socially, I'm sure will go up in arms about that. But the best employees you could ask for. Show up, suited up, ready to work, never a complaint. Always has suggestions if they don't like what you have, other than like everybody else who says, I hate what I'm doing.
But I don't have a better idea.
What do you have?
Yes.
Nothing. Oh, well, good. Well, then shut up and do the job. Or whatever the case may be. But it's really proud of the Miz and how he kind of.
And he's reliable on, like, I don't think he's ever been hurt.
No, he hasn't.
No, he's never been hurt. And then knock on wood that we didn't just jinx him, but like, he hasn't been, and he's great at these promos and these talk segments where he leads the whole thing, and he never skips a beat. Nope. And Dean Ambrose was another one, man, because it's all crazy and scripted nowadays, and they are definitely involved, and that's we really empower them to be involved in the scripting of that promo, so that their character comes out, and it's not me writing for them, it's them writing for them, and so it's just, I'm just proud of the whole brand. And look, I'm proud of Raw too, because Raw gets the short end of the stick all the time, especially socially. But man, that nobody understands the monumental task that writing 3 hours of television is every week. It's like Mel Gibson producing The Patriot once a week. You know what I mean? It's just near impossible to do. And I think they've really caught a second wind here, and the ratings ticked up this week. So things are looking good for that brand as well.
How do you feel about the Miz playing a Marine?
Well, I guess it is what it is. You know what I mean? I think he's good for the role. I don't think he would probably make it in the Marine Corps. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of dude he was growing up. He definitely shows up suited up here, so maybe he would have done the same thing there. I envy him. I wish I could star in some movies.
Yeah, why haven't you been casted in the Marine?
Because nobody wants a pot-bellied, buggy-whipped arm redneck to be the Marine drill
bomb. You could
bomb.
make a cameo and be like the disgruntled drill sergeant or something. They could find a way to fit you in there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I could be the bad guy biker that Miz beats up in defense of a poor woman or something.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. So we can sit and talk about how great it was back in the day, the good old days, and they really were, and like I talk about this a lot. Something that is missing. You still have it a little bit, but a lot of it's gone now. Is the outlaw spirit that wrestling had, and you know, a lot of people like they yearn for that. They want that back, and I understand that. But man, I'd rather have my friends alive. Like, I think it's better now, Brian.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, I think forever do we hear, oh, the Attitude Era was the best, PG era sucks, blah, blah, blah. Well, the PG era doesn't suck if you want your children to watch it, unless you want to raise little hellions like I did. But because they were watching their father tell everybody to suck it on TV. But like, I used to love watching like the $6 Million Man, and if you showed me that piece of crap today, I wouldn't sit through 5 minutes of it. And I say that to say this: sure, it was better. You were younger. Yep. You were less jaded. You didn't have to pay your taxes. You were just watching naked women and beer swilling anti-heroes, and you know what I mean. It was perfect. Yeah. But life, you grow up, man, and things aren't as great as they once were. And the difference is now it's a corporation, man. It's a publicly traded company that has corporate social responsibilities, and they can't promote drinking and drugging and you know, nudity and violence, and it's just you can't do that anymore. And so I understand that people want, you know, yearn for yesteryear. Hell, who doesn't? We used to make a ton of money. I wish I had some of that money back. But it was better then for a reason. It's different today, man. And today the world is different. And I also think I'd love to just tag all the negativity to the wrestling fans, but I think everybody's so jaded nowadays. It's such a crazy culture we live in. It's so everyone is so hypersensitive yet insensitive at the same exact time. Mm-hmm. It's just tumultuous and ready to blow up and boil over at any point. As far as, I mean, you go on social media and read something about Trump, and you read the thread underneath that, and people are talking horribly to each other. Yeah. Because they believe differently. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, one guy believes in gun control, and one guy believes that you should have fully automatic rifles, and oh my God, all of a sudden they hate each other's guts, and it's just a difference of beliefs, and I don't think it used to be that way, man. But that's now. I feel like the viewer of today literally watches the show to just go on social media with like-minded folks and bury the crap out of it.
And they don't even realize it, Brian. They don't even realize it, that they're in that state of a mind where everything is going to come out that way. Like,
no, because that's just the way it is. Yeah. Like, they don't. You're right. They don't see that their point was a negative and jaded. And I try to. It's a losing battle, as a fight in futility. But I try to go on there and go, did you like anything about the show? Like, was Gender's entrance at least interesting to you? You know what I mean? Yeah. Anything. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
It's just, man, it's just so, everybody's so ready to just bury everybody else for their beliefs. It's weird.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself about to tweet something and then you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't, and delete it?
Oh, every day. Every day, probably 5 times a day. I literally type it out, and then I XXXXXXX.
Me too.
Just delete it all.
That's my policy.
Yeah, all the time.
Yep, I'll type something out.
It's gonna get me in. Look, I've already been in trouble, and I make the dirt sheets all the time because I toe the company line, and that's what just gets me. Like, you guys are gonna come on here, bury the show that I feel like I helped create, and then I'm just supposed to take it, or I'm supposed to not, stand up for myself or for the company that literally saved my life. I just feel like they're just trolls, I guess, and they want to play, so I end up biting, and they end up playing with me a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, kind of to change directions, can we talk about Owen Hart for a second?
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to.
After the unfortunate incident with Owen Hart, the next night on Raw, you were supposed to have a match against The Godfather. And you came out and you're like, we could have a match right now, or we can go back, light one up, and tell some Owen stories. And the two of you left. What stories were told?
Well, basically, we just smoked a joint and got high. But that was, the company was in a good, it was very good to us that next night. And they said, look, we're going to put a show on, but you don't have to work. You do whatever you want to do. And so that's what me and Godfather chose to do. And of course, we laughed and cried about Owen, but we all did that. And so it was just it was a hard moment. And I think about Owen a lot, to tell you the truth. I actually utilize his name a lot and go, oh, you're going to let him say that about you? Because
he didn't say that, did he?
Owen would stir the crap, man. He was the best instigator and the best ribber, and just what a great guy he was. And he had some children. He had just bought a big house. He was second generation wrestler. There's a lot of things I saw in myself that I saw in him, and I traveled with him a little bit. Me and Jeff Jarrett traveled with him some, and just got to know him. He was just a really great dude, man. And so I always have some Owen stories, but usually they're just about him ribbing me or him ribbing somebody else. And he was just a positive energy to be around, and that was such few and far between that you run into that. You know what I mean?
And it was the guy, Brian. Owen was one of those guys that he was trying to do everything right. Like he was saving all his money. I mean, to the point where, like Nick, Nick, he had Ronnie Gaff or somebody driving him. Different guy, different fans would drive him around. He'd rib himself just to save money, and and he would bring a duffel bag. Yes.
He wore the same sweatsuit, but he would wear different underwear and socks and T-shirt.
Never ran around on his wife. You never seen him out in the bars carousing. And
nope, he never took pills. He never saw him drank a ton. But yeah, you're right, dude. I never even really looked at it that way. But he was always just doing the right thing.
Yeah. And go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what were kind of the ribs that he would play on you?
Oh man.
Well, he would always we would ride in the car, and he would get in the car. But before he would get in the car, we'd be at a restaurant or something, and he would go, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie," and then he would get in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like he would send out, you'd be having your match, and he would send out, like I was the real Double J for a minute there, and he would send out a guy to run my hat back down to ringside in the middle of the match, and just, try to give me my hat, and I'm in the middle of the match, and I just know that's God darn Owen back there doing something. Or he would have the building hit your music or something in the middle of a match.
Were you there? Hey, were you there when he did?
Owen.
Hey, Brian, were you there when he did that to Ahmed Johnson and Ahmed's tryout in Houston?
I was not.
Oh, it was great.
That's the kind of stuff he did.
He just hit his music
right in the middle
match.
of Ahmed's tryout in Houston. He's like, all of a sudden the music hits because Owen got on the microphone and told the guy to hit the music.
Oh man,
it was great.
That's hilarious.
And then immediately when you went to him and said, "Owen, God darn it," he'd say, "Davey Boy did it."
Yeah.
Davey Boy. And then Davey Boy, the infamous term, Davey Boy would say,
"I wasn't even there."
And they were a great duo together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He
and
would screw with you.
One time, I think Davey halcyon me one time, and I blacked out in the bar, and I think Owen painted my face up with makeup. And stuff.
That was probably Owen.
And I ended up walking to the bathroom. I came to and walked to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and I saw I had looked like a friggin' clown.
Oh yeah.
They
got me too.
Those son of a guns. But it's good-hearted stuff. You know what I mean? It makes me laugh now.
I got home one time. I did find the stuff on my face because nobody halcyon me. I halcyon myself, and and I woke up with the face painted. But so I'm like, oh, you guys, real funny, and I wiped it all off. I get on the plane, I get home, I climb in bed with my wife, and she looks down at my feet. My toenails are painted pink.
Honey, the boys.
I swear.
One time, Midian. Yeah.
You gotta believe me.
The boys did it.
Oh,
That's
man.
right. It seemed like you really had connections with a lot of second-generation superstars, except for The Rock. I mean,
yeah. Well, and and that's weird because him and my dad were actually the North Atlantic Tag Team Champions at one time. But yeah, I don't know what it was about him, man. And it started in Memphis, and I'll tell you why. And he was a star athlete that came to wrestle, and he was getting paid by the WWE to work in Memphis, and I was working in Memphis making $40 a night, and he was making however much a week because it was like the training grounds at the time. So there was a little bit of professional jealousy. There was a little bit of personal jealousy because he was a big jacked up dude that looked good and could go a little bit. And so one time me and Jamie Dundee said, well, let's ride with, he was Flex Cavana at the time. So let's ride with Flex from Memphis to Louisville because it was a 6-hour drive. And so Rocky had like an Isuzu Rodeo, like a nice one. I didn't have a car at all, and Jamie was driving like a little bitty Ford car. So we said, well, let's ride with him. So we met him at a gas station, and we started to get in his car, and he said, "Oh, guys, you can't smoke in my car." And at the time, we both smoked cigarettes. We were dang sure going to smoke some weed on the 6-hour drive. And so it was like, okay, well, we're not going with you then. And we got back in his Ford little car and drove 6 hours to Louisville. But it was, I was looking at it all wrong. He was just trying to live the right way and not have his car smell like a bunch of a-holes and an ashtray. And I wanted to smoke my weed and cigarettes. So it was, it was just me having wrong thinking that started that off in a bad way.
I'm pretty sure though, once we got in the ring with those guys, Brian, like all that was, I mean, you didn't bring any of that in the ring with you as far as I could tell, man, because I mean, we had good chemistry with him in that ring, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't, because that was the most important thing to me, was to be good in that ring and to make whatever segment we were in the best it could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As exciting as it could be. And so I didn't take any liberties with him. If I did hit him hard, he hit me hard back. It was, you know what I mean? It was just a friendly fisticuff session. It wasn't ever anything personal in there.
Hey, Brian, you know how, and I'm sure you and I have done this together at times, and you hear people do it a lot, and mostly, it's obviously the older generation, these damn writers, and hey, that's just the way it is now, man. We didn't have writers really per se back when we were doing it. I mean, there was somebody writing TVs, but it wasn't like we had a writing team. But man, that's how it's done now, man. And I just think that people have to understand that that's how the business has evolved.
Yeah, it has evolved, and right, wrong, or indifferent, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd like to say to all those people is, for one, they have no idea how hard the writing staff works and how directly they work with the upper echelon, and the hours are crazy, and it asks a lot of you as a human being to be one of these writers. And so once I got on with that team, I learned a tough lesson about how hard their jobs were. Two, I say, okay, do you like NXT? Okay, same writers. Do you like the Fashion Files on SmackDown Live? Yeah, same writers.
Who doesn't like the Fashion Files?
You know what I mean? So yeah. all these things that you love about it, if you're man enough to admit that you like some stuff about it, the same writers write that as the writers that you're bitching about for so-and-so not getting over. Oh, you should push so-and-so. He's so good. Yeah, well, that's the writers writing in that way. You know what I mean? Like CM Punk was very involved in the writing of his stuff, but he had writers write his stuff for him, and then he was great at delivering them. So he became hugely, successful at it. But the writers are writing everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so that's just the way it is now, man. It's a television show. And I try to tell people that when they start putting their match together, I say it's very important to think about these 8 or 9 cameras that we have on the floor out here, because they're your best friends, because there may be, 11,000 sitting in the arena, but there's 3 million, 2.5 million at home watching by way of television, and you're right in their living room. So be smart with the cameras. It's definitely a television show. And I don't know of any television shows that don't have writers, not even reality shows.
Yeah, you're talking about the it being a television show and all the people at home, but it's also still alive. It's also still a live event, and
that's the beauty of it.
But there's a fine line there. I think we got to we got to walk and being mindful of that it's a live event, and be mindful of the live crowd, and also that
Playing
it's
to
a
the
TV
crowd
show
and
and
to
the
the
cameras
cameras.
and whatnot.
For sure. Especially when it's not sold out and the place is only half full, and you've got your back turned to either them or the TV audience. So
Yeah.
then you got to weigh out, like, okay, who am I going to look at here? And so definitely, look, that's the beauty of it. That's a double-edged sword, though, is it's a live event going on while the viewers at home are watching this television show. And so if you think about the production that we do every Monday and Tuesday and about every other Sunday now with the pay-per-view schedule, it's incredible what we do.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I know, kids, you've been there a lot lately, and you've been a part of it in the past, so you know. But if you haven't been there and experienced that, like, the doors are about to open and we're still doing some kind of lighting rehearsal or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, all being televised and shot in front of a live audience. It's crazy.
You know what? One of the things that stands out to me the most and speaks to how much things have grown, when I look at how the gorilla position has grown. I mean, you can almost live in that thing now. There should be some beds and some, a stove and refrigerator up in there, man.
Yeah. Man, it has, and like everybody's got a place to sit in there with the headsets on, and so that's the nucleus, though, right there, man.
It's
the television truck is important out there. It's super important.
It's like the
But
bridge of the Star.
nucleus is-
It's like the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, it is. You can beam people up and the whole deal. And then George Takei comes in with a. Never mind. But yeah, it's awesome, and you can control that whole show from right there, man. And I try to.
I watched you do it.
The other producers to kind of take charge of that too. And man, you can talk to the referee, you can talk to the TV truck, you can talk to the cameraman. Yeah, so you got it all right there at your fingertips, man. You just gotta be ballsy enough, I guess is the right word, to kind of chime in and control it all,
Oh yeah.
So do you have your eye on any talent from NXT or Raw that once there's kind of like a changeover, or you have the opportunity to bring them over?
So look, of course, I would love to have Asuka. I think she is she's a huge star down at NXT, and she could be an even huger star at the next level. So I'd love to have her. I love Bobby Roode as a human being. Known him for years in TNA, and now here too. It's weird to say, but AJ Styles is just getting better and better. So I'm really, really glad to have gotten him and kept him. Trying to think down there. I like those Authors of Pain.
Yeah.
They're a big young group of guys that are really willing to learn and willing to perform, and they're just getting better and better. Their instincts are good, and their timing is pretty good for a couple of big dudes. Yeah, it seems like everybody down there is doing really well. I was really glad to get Ty Dillinger. He's a great guy, and I've known him for a while. So yeah, just trying to figure out how to utilize everybody the best is the hard part. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'd love to have everybody I just named, but then when you get them all, you got to have something for them to do, and you got to have time for them to do it in. So it's a delicate balance every week.
Well, with AJ, Joe, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and all these TNA guys now in WWE, is there anyone in TNA from when you work there or there now that you would like to see in the WWE?
Everybody, when I first got there, we had a conversation, and everybody whose name I mentioned is working here or had the opportunity to work here, and it either here or not here. And I'll just go ahead and lay it all out. They're all here except for James Storm, and he had the opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, and he made a business decision, and good for him. He's got to do what's right for him. But he was like I gave him 4 names and a question mark, and he was my question mark because I didn't know if that would fit. His cowboy gimmick kind of beer swilling deal would fit up here, but I knew everybody else would fit really well, and thank God they're here now. You know, it just takes time.
You know what puzzles me is about one guy down there that I wonder why he never made the jump when he had the chance was Abyss.
I was
Chris.
just thinking that.
You know,
Yeah.
I love you,
Yeah,
man.
that's
Are
true.
you
Yeah,
mad
because
at
he did
me?
have
Are
the
you mad at me? Remember how you'd
Hey,
always say that?
A lot of people are loyal to a fault. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't know if it's, you know, maybe it's not a fault. Maybe it's not a fault personally. But professionally, I think he was loyal to a fault. And so I think he chose to be loyal to a friend. And God knows I've done that before too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And you know, and he just didn't make the jump. And now I'm afraid that, you know, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think there's always room for somebody with his talent, but I think that, you know, initially when he had the chance, I think he was scared. He was still young in his career, and I think he was just scared to make the change. He was comfortable where he was.
Yeah, and he was probably making decent money he had never made before.
Yeah, but they
And
matched.
so,
The thing is, Brian, is they matched his down because he was just making a straight guarantee in TNA, and they matched that just on their bottom, like on their downside. Like he would have made way more money.
their downside matched his guarantee.
Yeah.
And the truth of it is, if he would have, he would have made twice that, if not more than that with merchandise. So that it's just, but it's like you said, it's just being scared and being complacent and comfortable where you are, and maybe having to step out of that small pond into the big river, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you might get gobbled up, or you might become a huge superstar. And I think he would have. He's a good dude, and he did have talent. He still does. He's got talent, and he could dang sure made a mint. That's for sure.
He has range too. He can play like that. Joseph Park character is like pretty good too, right? Like I mean, he's
yeah.
So
And if you didn't know that was Abyss, you wouldn't know that was Abyss.
You wouldn't ever think that.
I think
he
Jay
does.
Lethal
And
would be the other
what
one.
it is his commitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he commits to playing another role, and he committed to being Abyss, and so he's not afraid to commit outside of his comfort zone. You know, and that speaks to the range you talked about.
Yeah, I think Jay Lethal would be the only other person that I could think of from TNA when you were there that I think should definitely have an opportunity in the WWE. But
yeah, and by the time that opportunity came around, he is already locked up with Ring of Honor, and so they're very good about people staying away from people who are on paper. You know what I mean? That's a no-no. So
you mean on paper, locked up and on paper? Was he thrown in jail and on probation?
No, that is how you and I would think, right?
Right.
But no, I just meant contracted. On paper.
Brian, what'd you think? Hey, what'd you think when you read that I was a crystal meth trafficker out of Los Angeles International Airport?
Well, it just so happened that when I got the news, I was with Hunter.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it, and I guess he had heard the amount of money you had, and so it was like on you, and it was like, what's surely they're not saying that he's a trafficker. We got $700 on it.
Yeah.
Like, and then of course he started telling me how much he had in his pocket at the time, and I started laughing at him. But but like I look, kid, I got to be honest. I didn't know what you had. I didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I like you, so I'm hoping for the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're one of my best friends in this industry, and so I was praying for you and hoping for the best. But I believed you when you said it's not that. I did, because you were very forthcoming, and you always have been. With, hey, I'll never forget, we got pulled over with Rich Benzer in the car.
Yeah.
And you said, here's my weed. You know what I mean? It's mine. We've been smoking it. And you gave it up, and you were always very forthcoming with what you did. You stood up for yourself all the time. And so I believed you when you said what it was. And then I was just wondering if the long arm of the law was going to finagle that somehow and get and put you in jail. And so I was worried about you.
I was scared.
But I
was scared
I watched
of that
the thing
too.
on TMZ the other day when you did that sit-down interview.
Yeah.
With those two cats, and that was funny. But it also does feel good. It's like, hey, I told you guys what I was doing, and you didn't believe me but it's because of the past. It's because of the track record. You know what I mean? That's where I goes back to talking about being trustworthy. But when you live like I lived, I'll say for myself, when you live like that, people ain't real quick to believe you when you say some. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, screw sorry. Prove it to me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely. It was hard for me to blame anyone for not believing my story, or at least waiting to see.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to think, but I know you.
Yeah.
So I loved you, and I wanted the best for you, and you weren't lying.
No, I wasn't, man. I don't like. This is the thing, man. I don't even I barely recognize that human being anymore, Brian.
Yeah.
You know?
It's weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel
But
like a
it's
drug
good-
addict. I don't feel like a drug addict anymore. I don't walk around every day feeling like a drug addict. I don't relate. I don't,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and I still, to this day, a cop gets behind me, and I still go, "Oh God."
Yes.
And I'm thinking, I hadn't been on paper or anything in 6 years. You know what I mean? And I definitely don't have anything in my car with me. And so, but it's just how I lived for so long, man, that it's just that it just pops up like, oh God, what's he gonna find in my car?
Right. Hey, you know, Brian, that we could sit and talk for forever, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that to you. But before I let you go, and I'm sure there's some things that I'm forgetting here, but I want to let Jimbo. You guys, you got any last questions you want? Because Brian, I'm so grateful for the time you spent with us. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I'll just say before they get to their last stuff, dude, I love you, and I always will. I always have since we first met.
Yeah.
And I'll do this for you anytime. It's not like I'm doing anything but catching up with a great friend of mine. And so thank you for letting me do that with you.
Thank you.
Now,
I love you too, man.
Billy Bob and TK Trinidad. it was something. The name was something else, but I lost that name. Y'all got anything for me?
Well, I heard your interview with JB on The Legends, and you spoke about your mother and how important she was to you. Do you think your mother ever expected to have a family full of wrestlers?
No, I know for a fact she didn't. She was from the other side of the tracks that married some trailer trash by the name of Bob Armstrong and had 4 little trailer park gangsters that turned out mean and nasty as hell, and she was the rock that raised them all. And so, man, she is my ideal role model for my life, and that's why when I talked about getting back to the man that, or the person that my mama raised, it's very important to me that I remain that person, because man, she has the faith of a child, and now she is in the early stages of dementia and kind of Alzheimer's, but she's the happiest woman in the world. She
Amen.
wakes up every morning singing like gospel songs, and she believes, she has the faith of a child. And if you know what I'm talking about, then that's all. I don't need to go into detail. She's just a positive, good person, and I want her to be proud of me. And I think I'm at a place right now where she is, and so I could die a happy dude. That's for sure.
Great,
She's the most important person in my life by far.
And how's the bullet?
He's doing good. I talked to him at length last night. You know, he watches the show every week, and he'll usually call me or you know, either it's Wednesday or in the weekend when I'm home, and say, "Hey, man, I loved your show." And you know, he booked and he wrote a show and with Ron Fuller, and he booked with Ole Anderson in Georgia Championship for a while, and so he gets it, and we can kind of talk on that level, and so it's really cool to have that with my dad. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole progression of seeing him and then me coming up in the business, and now we can talk about it at the next level, which is like the creative and the booking of the show and stuff. So he's doing great, and it's his you know, he's 76 years old. He still does indie shows.
Yeah.
But he called me last night, or I called him last night, and he was out of breath as hell. I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he said, "Doing my cardio." And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I turn on the rhythm and blues channel. You know, it's just music on the TV channel, and he dances in the living room.
That's
and
so
he
awesome.
said, I just danced for an hour, and I'm sweating my butt off. And he said, but man, I got a great workout. And I thought, man, that's dancing to the oldies, man. He's just in the living room cutting a rug, but breaking a sweat. You know, so he's doing great, man. Thank you guys for asking.
I never knew my father really. Like I met him here and there, but so I never really had a relationship like that. But man, when I look at the relationship that you have with your father, man, and it's not like an envy thing. It's just I admire it so much, man. It's really
also,
touching.
When I look at other people's relationships with their father, and I don't mean to point out yours, and I'm sorry if it sounds that way, but like I see, you know, Brian Christopher and Lawler,
yes.
and they're people who are in the industry together. It seems to almost put a strain on their relationship sometimes, and man, mine couldn't be further from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we literally let wrestling bring us together, and shoot, that sounds like a pitch. I should pitch that for a movie or something.
It's just, you know, it's just amazing to have been around it, to experience your relationship with your dad, just like soak in some of that residual love that's overflowing, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it because I'm proud of it. You know what I mean?
So, is there anything else, Jimbo?
I would really just like to end on that happy note.
Yeah,
I have
me
other
too.
questions, but
No.
I mean,
Sounds
let's
perfect.
just end on that.
Yeah.
That was just so great. And
What about
heartwarming.
TK Trinidad? She had some good questions. And she really set me in with that. Take two was a winner, and I appreciate the intro. Take one, we got off to a rough start. Maybe they can air that just to let everybody know what we're talking about.
I did, but I mean, how you ended it was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you're going to be coming on again,
right.
so I have a lot of questions for you.
Well, good deal. Well, we'll do. You know what? Write those down, and we will do this again, man. Because I actually had a really good time doing it.
Did
It
you?
was very therapeutic for you. I did.
Thank you.
Because look, like I told you, kid. I'm sitting here, dog sitting at my own house with my kids and my wife gone, and so today has been a day of working on myself. And like I said, I went to a meeting earlier, worked on my recovery, and then this conversation we've had has been very therapeutic and made me feel good about my lot in life and the decisions I've been making lately. So thank you guys for letting me do that with you.
Thank you so
you,
much,
man.
Brian. Love you very much, my friend.
Yep, I love you.
I'll
too,
see
dude.
you on
It's
the-
nice to meet you guys.
I think I'll see you on the 26th. You going to be in LA?
Yeah,
I think SmackDown's
yeah,
in
sure will
Bakerfield.
be. Good. It'll be good. It'll be good to hug your neck, dude.
Yeah, man. All right, man. I love you,
All
Brian.
right. Hey, yep. Thank you guys very much, and let's do this again.
Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
All right.
That was awesome. Let's take a break and
Yeah.
wrap it out.
Yeah, or we can just go ahead and wrap
Just
this thing
wrap
up
it up?
right now. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, so I'm going to be, hey, do you know where I'm going to be this
so
weekend?
this Friday, Saturday, June 10th, you'll be at Summer Showdown 2 in FEW in Florida.
At Coral Springs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other info on how to get tickets?
Let me, not right now. Hold on.
Website, anything?
I'll find it. We'll get there.
Okay.
But,
what else?
That's what you got going on. We got Get High Watch Wrestling June 21st.
The actual
Cine
that's
Family?
that's change. We'll
We'll
talk
get to
about
that.
later.
We'll talk about that
next
later.
week.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't tell you about that. So everything's subject to change.
Card subject to change.
Yeah. So all right. Well, I guess we can wrap things up. And that was
Amazing.
man. I say that all the time, you know. Every time we're finished with the interview, I always talk about how much I enjoyed it. But, you know, obviously when it's somebody like that, you know, anytime I can get goosebumps talking to one of my friends and having everyone listen, it's a good day.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Yeah.
So much. And there's so much more we could still talk
Oh my
about.
gosh.
Yeah. I just didn't think, you know, we can talk about the other stuff at another time. Brian will, it sounds like he actually really did enjoy it. So,
How
all
could
right,
you
you
not
guys.
enjoy it?
Huh?
How could you not enjoy it?
No, I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
being sarcastic. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. And,
Where can they find you?
oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead and do all the social media stuff.
Okay, I could do that.
You can find me on Twitter at Jimbo in the Booth.
Okay, you can. Oh, There's so many papers here.
Find
Give me a
TK
second.
on Twitter at TK Trinidad.
Yes, and then
You can find
AfterBuzz.
Sean on Twitter at The Real X-Pac.
And then AfterBuzz TV.
At AfterBuzz TV across all social medias.
And the shirts.
And the shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees / Sean Waltman.
And can you leave a review? Is it like iTunes and all
Review
that
on
stuff?
iTunes. Rate 5 stars if you're nasty.
And are there reviews on other like you can listen to
leave
us
your
on
comments.
SoundCloud or anything like that,
Yes.
right?
SoundCloud.
Yep. Leave your comments on YouTube. Definitely, have the live chats always popping, so definitely do that. But yeah, comments anywhere is amazing. We love to hear from you guys, and yeah.
Hashtag XPac12360.
And don't the reviews, like when somebody leaves a positive review, it really helps the show a lot.
It does. It'll help our algorithms and get us higher up in the ratings
Yeah.
for sure.
So 5
definitely
or better.
do that. Yeah.
It was just 5, but
And we'll read them on the air.
All right. We'll see y'all next week right here on AfterBuzz TV.
ciao.
X-Pac 12360.
Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Jimbo Frank and TK Trinidad, managing producer of AfterBuzz TV Wrestling Mark Donica, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff. We would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXPac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com. This has been a presentation of the AfterBuzz TV Network. Buzz you later.